It's interesting. I think there's this line of like kind of line in the sand moment, and you hear it a lot, which is that like sales is over here and recruiting's over there, or you've got partnerships over here and sales over there. And I think to your point earlier on, the skill set, the ability to go and sell, it's not about the used car salesperson, buy my whatever. It really is about mutual value. And so when I talk to folks about partnerships in particular, there's a lot of organizations I've spoke with, heads of partnerships, CROs, et cetera, and they say like, well, we want to work with these partners because they're going to help us to sell more of our software. We want to work with these partners because they're going to help us to keep our customers around longer. And I think that there's a kind of flip it on its head moment there where you have to really refocus on the ideology of, but what do they get from you? And so if I think about why and really how sales comes into the model and the dynamic when it comes to partnerships is that, ideally, you should be looking for businesses that fit into your customer's need set. So the sales part of it becomes more of a value presentation, more of an opportunistic, we see this thing happening, we know you can help us do it. Even, for kind of color's sake, but the HubSpot story really quickly. Early days at HubSpot, there's this guy named Pete, I'll leave it at that, who made an observation that some of our most successful customers were working with marketing agencies. So he went and talked to those agencies. That seems like a novel concept, but in terms of execution, it's brilliant. He went and had a conversation with the folks that were delivering value to our customers using our platform. They were literally using our tools to make our customers more successful. And he said, what are you doing? And they said exactly what I just said, we're making your customers more successful. And oh, by the way, helps us deliver better margins for our business, helps us deliver more effective ROI. We get value from your platform as well. And what's fascinating about that is there really isn't a sale. It's just a presentation. Hey, we can work with you to make your business better by having you build a business practice around our platform, and we'll help you go to market that way. And so I think conceptually, partnerships as a whole, when you anchor in it, really is about going to market together, which means you're going to co-sell the value, the opportunity, the way that your customers intersect with your brand. And so ultimately, these partnerships that you're developing, whether they are co-selling, reselling, co-servicing, co-marketing, whatever the dynamic might be, integrations, et cetera, ultimately comes down to the intersection of value, which I've said several times. And ultimately from that, you should extract the ability to say, well, we have to go and sell that value to somebody. And so you have to have mutual values, you have to have a mutual go-to-market, you have to work together towards that outcome. And so, at its core, I think that to me is the most really natural and raw intersection of sales. Sales is what you described just, a couple minutes ago, Jason, in terms of talking to your customers. The people that own your customer trust are likely the businesses that you're going to partner with, and especially initially, right? As you go to market in the beginning. And then as you scale your organization, you should be finding more and more opportunities for where your customers' value and your customers' trust is owned by another business and working in a way to engage them, to borrow that, add something to it, and deliver it back through that partnership. And all of those intersections, those conversations, those relationships come inherently with this little hint of sales kind of sprinkled on top like salt or pepper, because you're trying to position value, be transparent. And I think the term sales is overblown into this like practiced, rehearsed, what's the line, what's the pitch? It's not. It's about this interpersonal connection, this conversation, again, fundamentally though, where you're sharing how you as an organization can help a customer and subsequently a partner of that customer go and grow better.
Yeah, I find it very interesting when you look into sales, people are just like, I don't know those scripts. I don't know how to close. And that seems to be where people will assume that that's where you have to put all of the focus. And what I love from your story here is this outreach of speaking to people. I think that's one of the most simple yet underutilized and underappreciated activities. I have this one moment. I was doing a product launch within this personal growth industry. It was a big online launch, and this is definitely not related to anything technology. So entertain this for a while. It was energy healing sessions, right? And for myself, not something that I wanted to experience. I went to test it out, and I was like, okay, that's cool, but it didn't do much for me. And what I realized is like, oh my God, it's not about me. It's about the customers that actually want to buy this. So I went and found all the customers that had bought it in the past and just set up phone conversations. And it was so amazing to hear what transformation it did for them. It got me motivated to sell it because I was like, oh my God, look what it did for these people. And I was even able to pull up some case studies of transformations from them that I could use in the marketing collateral. And most people would say just send out a survey and you'll get some of the data. But I thought it was something different about real conversations. And I'd love to know from your perspective, like, do you find that we should be trying to automate customer feedback loops as much as possible? Or do you still see value in the tangible one-on-one conversations?
I think it's both. I think you got to be intentional. I mean, the way people buy and sell and experience brands is changing. It's been changing for years, but I think it's accelerating. Everyone wants to talk about AI, right? I think everyone wants to talk about how technology is accelerating it. But at its core, we're talking about people doing things for each other. Like if you go back to the earliest, hunter-gatherer days, right? Like when we were just a basic species on this planet, we traded. I gathered some fruit from the trees. You caught 2 fish from the river. I'll give you some fruit. You give me a fish. We both eat. We move on with our lives and continue to exist. And I think if you fast forward to today, it's no different. It's an inflated industry and there's layers to it and it's all about commerce and whatnot. But fundamentally, we're talking about I have something you need. You have something I need. You have money. I have product. Let's exchange for each other. I think the way that you get to that comfortability comes from talking and comes from listening first. So it's really easy to go to market and say, I know what my customers need. I built something that's awesome. It's going to flip and change the world. Let's go. Those are the people I think that, history would show have probably failed. And that's okay, but have failed first. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you go to market and say, let me test, let me see, I know generally speaking who my ICP is, my ideal customer. I have an idea. And go and reach out to them. Even the companies that I advise that are early, I do a lot of early stage advisory work. And they're always like, well, what do I do? How do I go sell this? And I'm like, well, that's the wrong question. Don't start there. Start off with who are my potential customers and go ping them on LinkedIn or send them an email or go to the trade show, whatever your format is, wherever they are and spend time and just say, hey, I did this thing. I think it helps people like you. What do you think? And then listen, shut your mouth, say nothing, hit mute on the receiver it's a real cell phone comment or a real phone comment, rather. Hit the receiver mute button. But I mean, fundamentally, the thing that's important though is that you have to go and listen first. And so I do think the customer feedback loop is imperative. Frankly, if you're not measuring your customers and listening to them, it's kind of silly. There's a company I advise called Apex that does some really awesome work. They call it Apex Score around customer behavioral insights. Whatever solution that you use, whether it's NPS or something more advanced and high quality like Apex, listen, experience, and then go and read and consume. It's really easy to generalize. And then you are truly selling at that point because you're trying to force something versus the intersection of values I've described it. If you listen to what your customers are saying and your potential customers are saying, that's closed lost reports, that's certainly closed won reports, and then that's your actual customer feedback, whatever loop you build there, and then go and have these conversations, standardize them, measure them consistently, revisit them once a quarter, twice a year, whatever it is. That trend analysis will make you far better at solving for your customer, and it will remove that element of, hey, you want to buy a car? That kind of like attitude of just jamming something in someone's face.
That is definitely refreshing. I'm glad it's a combination of both. And again, as this new technology is coming out, I think that there's a craving for the humanistic kind of approach to sales and conversations and just having, real genuine connection with a soul.